Okay. Right before we were starting, I was like shaking a little to move my body. And then my dog came over like, what are we
Oh,
doing? And I
we
felt
dancing?
bad. I know, like what's oh no. Now he's looking at me like he wants a WALK, but
Oh, not
that'll wait.
yet. Oh, I forgot
Not
the timer.
yet. Okay, our 20-minute timer. So as you're setting that, I will say what our intention is for this 20 minutes today is
Mhm.
that it's to share a little bit about who we are. And I guess we already did one on why we're doing this, but we can weave that in. But we
Mhm.
figured we've just been jumping into topics and it might be helpful if you know a little bit about our background.
Yeah.
So maybe, I'll start with what I know about you.
Ooh, yeah. We're
So
gonna
I know
introduce each
you're,
other.
yeah, for the majority of your life, you did not know you were autistic. And we share this, you were a therapist.
Hmm.
And at one point you were like, no, not for me anymore. Okay, now I'm feeling bad about the way I'm telling your
I love
story.
it.
But,
It's
but
great.
and then you segued into coaching,
Hmm.
which is now expansive mindset coaching, which I'll let you talk more about. But that's when you and I met, right? Roughly when you were making that
Hmm.
transition. And we
Yeah.
had so many things in common because on your website, I remember you had a religious deconstruction group. You had a neuro tribe. Was it neuro? It wasn't neuro tribes. It was neuro.
Neurodefiant.
Yes, I loved that. Neurodefiant. And then you also had, I feel like you had grief because we
Art.
both,
Oh, yeah.
you had grief and then you had art, and it was like, what the fuck, these are the exact things I do. But I was excited because I do them individually in therapy and you were offering groups. And I think a mutual friend of ours, a mutual
Hmm.
therapist, was like, oh, you two should meet. And I will say being autistic got centered from the beginning because I
Yeah.
remember I emailed and was like, hey, let's meet, or one of us
Hmm.
emailed, and I was thinking it was going to be just you and I. And then our mutual friend was like, cool, I'll come. And then I was like, oh no, because I
Hmm.
cannot, I don't handle a third party present very well because then I'm like attending to two people, especially if I know her well, but not you. And I
Yeah.
just like, I went through this like whole thing of emotions and then a
Mm.
little bit of shame being like, do I actually speak up on this and say this makes me uncomfortable?
Hmm.
And since I knew you were autistic, I was like, you know what? I'm going to just say it.
Yeah.
I'm going to just say it. And I did. And I'm so glad that like
Yay.
you handled it very nicely. So did our friend. And like,
Hmm.
in fact, I don't know if our friend knows we're such good friends. That like,
Like,
we should probably be like, hey, like,
we forgot to ever have like the three of us together. Just like, oh, Jackie and Jen.
pretty much.
It's fantastic.
Probably. Yes. So anyways, that I know I just went off on yet another tangent about our backgrounds, but that's how you and I pretty much like as soon as we started talking, we were just
Hmm.
like,
Bing.
we've just never, yeah, we've just never stopped.
Yeah, which is exciting because, there are so many ways that like building friendships in adulthood is challenging. And then when it
Yeah.
just clicks, it's like, oh, like we can just get on with being friends. We don't have to do the whole like, do you want to be friends? Or we're gonna like
Yeah.
talk to
Well,
each other.
that reminds me, I think the other thing that made it easier is that we're both business owners. And
Mm,
so it gave us something to focus on and talk about as we got to know each other. That, like, and you and I have talked about this in making friendships, it's a lot less stressful if you have like something else to focus on in the process.
yeah, yeah. We were checking in about business. Well,
Hmm.
thanks for the introduction. So you are Jackie, an
Yes.
autistic art therapist. And yeah, you're in that realm and also entertaining possibilities of what might be. And this is not a fun description because like
It's very different. I'm like, what is she going
I know,
to say?
well, because like we have all the things in common, which
I
you
know,
have
right?
said. So like, no, that's a really bad bio. You have a
No one's
super
gonna
cute
ever want
dog.
us. I do. Oh,
It's
he looks
like,
very cute, but I'm not gonna show you right now because then you'll see my messy bed over there.
oh yeah, no, the camera doesn't go. This is this
I wish
is
I could like.
the
Oh,
clean
he knows I'm
zone.
looking at him. I wish I could pick him up, but he's kind of 40 pounds and he would not appreciate being hauled all the way up here.
Yeah. So yeah, we met at like my crossroads of retiring from being a complex trauma therapist and launching into coaching. And also we have the shared experience of both being late identified. Jackie's autistic. I'm
Surprise!
autistic, ADHD. Whoops. The
Forgot
secret's
to say
out.
that.
Um, and yeah, I think over our conversations of being autistic entrepreneurs, so many things began to not necessarily come up, but just kind of clarify as, oh, there are really unique aspects of being autistic and an entrepreneur.
Mm,
And there are things
yeah.
that we do differently. One of the things I appreciate about you, Jackie, is like all the things that you write about. So you have a Medium where you write amazing content on like for late identified autistic people and also for folks who are interested in starting a private practice in being like thoughtful about and intentional about that process of starting a practice. But I also like, I mean, I think this is the nature of you being autistic. You present some alternatives for what business could look like that are not
Yeah.
common models of like therapy private practice, which I think is
Yeah.
awesome and exciting. And like whether or not you were intending to be like, well, this is this is an autistic way of doing it, you're just presenting
Yeah.
it as like, here's some alternatives. Like it's possible to do business this way. It's possible to like create a balance that feels good and is
Yeah.
sustainable and is like enjoyable.
Okay, I'm having a moment where a lovely autistic moment where like everything you're saying is like making all these thoughts in my mind where I'm like, hold it in until it's your turn.
No,
And I'm like, it's my turn. But
it's your
like,
turn. Go.
okay, that like there are so many things, there's so many thoughts at once that I'm gonna have to calm myself down for a second. One, thank you for acknowledging that. And it's been really hard because it's the way I'm doing business and honoring my own needs is not common. And I
Right.
encounter a lot of judgment in the counseling world for that. And so being friends with you has been refreshing as fuck because it's like I need someone who gets what I'm doing and says like it's
Yeah.
okay, do it. Like yes, I want to be enough for myself. but but it isn't enough. We really do need other people that are like,
Right.
you're not wrong for doing this, Jackie. Like something as simple as I only see clients in the afternoons. Some other
Hmm.
therapists will say, you need to have evening hours for people who can't come during work. And like, okay, I can't cater to everyone. Like, no, I can't, I just can't. And like,
Right.
and at the same time, like, I don't want to argue with all those people.
Hmm.
Just let me do what works for me. I am not harming anyone.
Hmm.
I may not be
Yeah.
available to everyone, but I'm not harming them. Like
But
again,
like,
like
even if you had a schedule that was wide open and no boundaries around your schedule, which would be
yeah,
wildly unhealthy, you
and
still
which
couldn't
is
cater to everyone.
exactly. And so like the thing, I guess what's hard for me is since I write so much, I have thought all this shit through. I have
Yes.
worked through it on a personal level and I have written and articulated about it on a professional level. So when someone
Yes.
comes at me with like, I'm sorry, but this much thinking on the topic and I've done this much, it's like, do
Yes.
I really want to catch up this gap and spend my time that like,
Hmm.
no, here's my essay, read it. Like, or
Yes.
like, I just,
Yeah.
it's, yeah.
No, that's totally on point. It makes me think about something that Kelly Diels was writing on recently or was posting on recently about like how overthinking is like a key to success. And
Mm,
oftentimes people kind of frame overthinking as this like, ugh, it's like this bad negative thing or whatever. But she's talking about how like overthinkers go deep in thinking about things and thinking through multiple scenarios and layers and doing research to kind of back up those thoughts and
yeah.
observing, anecdotal research over time as well as reading things. And so when the moment comes to like launch an idea or put something into practice, it is sitting on the super solid foundation of a
Yeah.
lot of deep thought. And so
Yeah.
that's exactly what, like, I thought of that
Yeah.
because of what you were saying. Like, you put all of this thought into the choices that you make. It's not like I'm just gonna
Yeah.
do
Like,
this today with my
well,
business.
and this ties to also what we're doing in this show, in that like we have said from the beginning that we understand we are not a representation of all autistic people. If
Mhm.
anything, like we're really talking to the people who have gone unidentified most of their lives, most likely due to gender and intelligence together.
Mhm.
And I know in our society it's not cool to be like we're smart, but like that's just the facts. Like we have intelligence that has influenced this
Mhm.
and influences how we think about things. And like I like to call that out because I do think a lot of people are initially surprised I'm autistic because they see me as
Mhm.
someone thoughtful and an intelligent, and they're like, how are you autistic?
You're
And
right.
um excuse me, I am. Like, but I mean it's also not their fault. Like we don't have good information about autism out there in the wider culture right now, so like I
Right.
also don't like blame them, but like there's more to
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. I mean, probably part of my own inability to identify for so long was some of those cultural lenses blurring my view of myself and being able to to recognize those things in myself and also like understand that there is a vast myriad of presentations of being autistic. And there are
Yeah.
combinations of autism and learning deficits, autism and physical disabilities, autism and fill in the blank.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you talk about intelligence because I've never thought of myself as intelligent in life because I had to work so hard. And I had this
Hmm.
idea in my mind. Like, I had an older sister. She was like in the talented and gifted. She was in like just blew through school, didn't really have to work hard. I had to work really hard, and like studying and reading were so challenging.
Hmm.
I haven't been diagnosed, but I'm pretty sure I'm dyslexic and I have dyscalculia because like numbers and letters float all over the place. So looking back, I'm like, oh yeah, no wonder I had a challenging
Hmm.
time in school.
Yeah.
But because of those challenges and because it was so hard to
Huh.
get, the B or the A that I got, I just equated that with like, I guess I'm not smart. So I have
Hmm.
to work hard to get there. And
Yeah.
so at this point, when people are like, reflect back to me something about like, oh, you're like really smart. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I
I
don't,
did see your face when I said that. That I could tell in your
yeah.
face, like you're like, wait, you're lumping me in here. Which I'm glad we're talking about this because I didn't know about this lived experience you're talking about. And to me, you've just always been like creative genius and smart. And so like and we like, connect on our value. For me, I'm just like, I'm so lucky to have this person in my life. And I gotta admit, it's a little weird to work into that formulation, like how you saw yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's also like, I remember one time in grad school, somebody told me I was ambitious, and I was like, what? I'm like a lazy sloth who never does anything. Like, these are the ideas that I had about myself. I wonder where they came from. But then
Yeah.
they were like, no, look at you did XYZ things. And then when I would reflect on my own and take inventory, I'm like, oh, right. So like when I was 13, I got my little babysitting certification from the Red Cross. And then I got business cards and went around the neighborhood knocking on all the doors, like, here's my business card if you need babysitting, call me up.
Huh.
And I had like this whole babysitting empire in my neighborhood that like made all my money for me through
Hmm.
high school. And like I continued to do entrepreneurial things and ambitious things, but because of like the way I was taught to see myself,
Yeah.
it never clicked for
Wow.
me that like
Huh.
these are strengths. These are things that you can do that not
This
everybody does. This
this
is
is just so interesting to me because like you and I are so similar, and yet this part of our story is very different because I was like you in that I also did so many entrepreneurial things just always.
Mhm.
But I don't have that lived experience of like doubting my intelligence, like, or
Mm.
my abilities. What was different was like my whole life, people were like, oh, you're so smart, you're going to do so much, you have so much potential. And like that is its own
That's a
separate
different kind
weight
of
that we'll say,
pressure.
yeah, but we'll talk about that some other time. But like the thing I was thinking about for me, what I understand now about myself, now that I know I'm autistic, is that I wasn't really comfortable around other people. And like the entrepreneurial stuff made me comfortable. Like I was president of so
Mm.
many clubs. I was
Yes.
like, I like ran and did so many projects and things because that's where I felt good. Like, and like we talked about with friendship, like it's easier for me if we're like working on something together, or I know what my role is, what my task is,
Yes.
versus like, oh, I'm just here to party. Like, fuck that. Like, no. And so I actively avoided parties in high school, and like I was off like designing books and designing like projects and things. And so like it's funny that
Yeah.
you and I were both doing that, but kind of fueled in different ways.
Yeah. Quick side note. I'm the autistic at the party that's like doing dishes
Mm,
and making sure the chip bowl is refilled and
I
probably
love
talking to the
it.
pet.
Yes, that like I love like people then also you get the benefit of people think you're so nice and so helpful.
And
Little
I'm
they
like,
didn't do they know you're like, I just give me a role, give me
I
something to
just
do.
need a job.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that too. Although I don't really go to parties anymore. So
I mean, I don't. Yeah. And certainly not in the last like 3 years.
yeah,
It's
I can't even
me and my dog.
remember the last time I went to a party.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I
just
don't,
not even.
yeah, don't remember.
Yeah, anyways.
So,
I'm like I can't. I'm almost hitting 10 years in my memories. I was like, hey, which I'm gonna write
looking
this
through the
down.
archives.
I want to talk in a future episode about memory and how
Ooh,
autism
yeah.
impacts memory, but
Yeah.
not now.
No, that's good. That's a good topic. I'm glad you're taking notes on things we want to talk about because as
I love
we already experience every time we talk about things, like fresh ideas bloom, which
Yes.
is kind of what's amazing about the energy between the two of us, like having these creative minds, entrepreneurial minds and the energy, like there's just I don't know, I imagine this like cartoon scene, like as we're walking, like just piles of blooms are coming up, like just more and
Ooh,
more things blooming along the way. And
I
it
wish I had a
really
flower. Oh, flowers.
it
Hey,
I will
they're
say it,
blooming.
yay, it helps me. I feel like I've been on this years long journey of laying to rest scarcity mindset and learning to
Mm,
embrace abundance mindset. And our dynamic really helps me do that. Like, even if I forget to write an idea down, I'm like, we'll just have another conversation and like 20 more ideas will come up,
Yeah.
so I don't have to worry about it. And that is
Yeah.
a really exciting feeling, especially as we're thinking about doing this creative project of this talk show. And, I don't
Yeah.
have anything like, ooh, what are we going to talk about next week?
I know.
Like,
I just, in fact, wrote down scarcity versus abundance. We should talk about that for
yeah,
a future show. Oh, fuck. It's up.
I know.
I can never hear it. Okay.
Well, yeah.
I technically wasn't in the middle of anything, but I will say, oh, it's funny. I was like, what was our original question? was who, I don't even know that we've even fully said who
Who
we
are we?
are, but who are you? I guess you'll just,
It will just unfold gradually.
we could try over and over and over.
We start with the same question and go different trails every single time. Welcome to
We could have a whole series of like our intro of like 10 videos of us.
our whole first season. Like, okay, for real. And our
We're really
last
gonna say,
episode is like, okay, this is why.
we're gonna have to like read a script. Be like, all right.
I love
Okay.
it. I love it.
All right.
It's great.
I'm good for closing this one out though.
Okay.